Hey everybody, this is Fragger here from Achievement Hunter, here to do another episode of Retroactive, where I'm here to talk about a series I've been wanting to for a while, Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain. Finally. Blood Omen is pretty much half of the Legacy of Kain series. It's got 2.5 games, the other side is Soul Reaver with 2.5 games. Why half? Well, Defiance is the ending to both series. Now, this is where I'm gonna put a little disclaimer on the storyline of the Legacy of Kain games. I could go more in depth about the whole Pillars of Nosgoth, etc., but here's the problem with the Legacy of Kain games. They're about as complex as the Metal Gear games, mainly because of the sheer amount of time travel that exists within this series. So, bear with me while I try to be somewhat vague and try not to confuse myself in the process. Now, you play as Kain, who's a noble man who was murdered, and while in hell makes a really stupid move to come back as a vampire to get revenge. Things happen, he murders a lot of people, drinks their blood, and eventually is given the choice to do something not stupid and do something very stupid. And then canonically, he makes the very stupid choice because that made more games happen. Shrug. I'm actually shrugging, if you guys are wondering. The second game picks up 200 years later after certain events happen in one of the Soul Reaver games, time travel, as I said, and now Kain is waking up after being dormant for a while and is all like, wait, I'm not ruler of the world? So he goes about to make that happen. He goes on to get revenge again, and then rule the world, and then there's Defiance. Pretty much what he's trying to do is undo the fucked up decision that he made in the first game, but it involves somebody else's life and other things, and oh, headache. Feels like my head's going to explode. Those are the storylines. They're vague, but I kind of have to be because I really don't like spoiling games for people, and me going too in-depth into the storylines for these games is spoiling games on top of games on top of games on top of games. Not joking. All the games are fairly intertwined with their storylines, which is both good and bad at the same time. It's good for people who are playing them, bad for people like me who are trying to tell you about them. Now, mechanically speaking, the first game is a top-down RPG-ish type of game where you get to run around, smack dudes with swords, and use magic, and turn into wolves. And that's this game, is that you get to go around, level up, do cool things, be a vampire, drink their blood, and it's a really cool kind of game. I mean, you don't see a ton of these kinds of games. I mean, I guess you could say it's kind of Legend of Zelda-y. There's another game in this series that's more so, but this game is a lot more linear. It's pretty much go to point A to point B, and we're not going to tell you how to get there. That's Blood Omen 1 in a nutshell. Whereas the second game is a third-person action-adventure game where it's got a little bit of exploration, not a ton. And then when it comes to Defiance, it's kind of like a locked camera brawler, but you have most of the same abilities that you did in Blood Omen 2. So it kind of works, and kind of doesn't. It's weird. What would I like to see done with this half of the series? Well, in a nutshell, I would love to see Legacy of Kain come back. I'll get more into that when I talk about Soul Reaver, but Blood Omen 1, I'd like to see this game made available for people to fucking play. Because it's either hunting down a copy of it for the PC, where it's cranky and doesn't like to work, or you have to download it on the PSN, which is neat that it exists on there, but that's kind of it for your options. Every other game in this series you can buy on your digital services of Steam or Good Old Games, which thank God, because at least those work. But that's really what I'd like to see done with this half of the series. Now, the other half of the series, Raziel's side, I'm going to talk about those next week. And you guys can't see it, but I have a gigantic smile on my face just thinking about talking about Soul Reaver. And I really can't wait to do that. See you guys next week.